Hi guys, back again. We're looking at Hosea chapter 5. Um, just a review, in Hosea chapter 4, we saw God thrice repeating warnings to his people of their lack of knowledge, leading to their shame, punishment, and death. So Hosea 5 continues warning of the coming punishment and destruction of God's people due to their unwillingness to repent and turn from gross immorality and pagan idol worship. So, as the chapter opens, we find God pointing at exactly who judgment will start with. He calls out the priests, the kings, and the royal house of Israel altogether. And so in 1 Peter 4:17 in our New Testament, it reminds us that judgment begins in the house of the Lord, right? It was the leaders who were most responsible for the lack of correction and rebuke among God's people. So sin was just running rampant, right? And they were looking the other way, kind of like today. So God always starts from the top down, right? So he tells his leaders, through his prophet Hosea, that their own deeds and the deeds of their people, quote, do not permit them to return to their God. For the spirit of whoredom is within them, and they know not the Lord. That's Hosea 5:4. So their deeds do not permit them to come to God. It's what they're doing and what they're failing to stop doing. They love the sin. They won't stop doing it. And so therefore, until that happens and they change and they repent, they can't come to God. God's not going to dwell with sin. So that's their stumbling block. They couldn't possibly be bothered to detach themselves from their idolatry, from their sexual immorality, and from all of their gross sin. So they can't stop doing those things, or they refuse to. It's a personal choice, and go into God's house and repent and come to the Lord. So because that's their decision and that's their choice as of now, God says the very spirit within them is evil and adulterous, and they cannot come to him. And so therefore they do not know him at all. You can call them whatever you want. You can call them Israel, the children of God, the covenant people, you can call them all those things. Just like today, you can say, I'm a Christian, I go to church. That does not mean you know God. Your actions prove what you believe. And so that's what God is saying here through the prophet Hosea. God also calls them out as prideful. He says their pride is actually testifying against them. He says they go to their idols looking for peace, looking for prosperity, looking for all of these good things in life, but nothing like that is going to be found from their idol worship and from their idol gods, because their idol gods have no power. They have no power to bless, and they definitely do have power to curse, though, if you want to look at it that way, because doing those things is going to lead you down a path of destruction. But because they're looking to idols and sin to find their blessing, and that's where they're spending all of their love and all of their time, God, the true fount of blessing, is going to withdraw from them. He's going to hide from them, he says. And he even calls their own children aliens. And it's because the children are illegitimate. They're from illegitimate relationships, from adulterous relationships, from immoral relationships. And so God is going to have no part of their illegitimate relationships and even their offspring coming out of this idolatry that is so ubiquitous in this time. So, and in our time, if we're being honest, right? So this is how God foreshadows the judgment he is about to bring to them. He says this: for I will be like a lion to Ephraim, and like a young lion to the house of Judah. Even I will tear and go away. I will carry off, and no one shall rescue. So that's Hosea 5:14. And so God is saying he's not going to be any different than the enemy kings and the enemy conquerors who will come to oppress, slaughter, and destroy them. In fact, God is going to use those people for his will, because his own people will not repent of their gross sin. So moreover, he's going to be as a lion. He says, even me, even me, I'm going to tear and go away as a lion destroys its prey and carries it away. That's who I'm going to be to you, because you've chosen to turn away from me. So no one's going to rescue you, God says. There will be no one to rescue when this happens, as I'm turned away from you, because I'm the one that can rescue you, and you refuse to acknowledge me. So that's where they're at. It's not a good place, but God is warning them all the more. And so all of this coming judgment and warning should be dark and terrifying to the people God once considered his own. You know, the prophet is telling them these things for a reason. It's for their own good, yet they choose instead to continue in their sin, in their gross immorality. And that's just the human condition, right? We all deal with this. It's sometimes far easier to just keep doing the same old terrible things that we've been doing all of our life than it is to say, you know what, I was wrong and I need to stop doing this and I need to do new things. I need to do what God is calling me to do, right? So, but God is gracious in that he even gives them a stitch of hope in the very last verse here of Hosea chapter 5. He tells them exactly how that they can be saved from this calamity and destruction to come. And he says this, I will return again to my place until they acknowledge their guilt and seek my face, and in their distress earnestly seek me. So that's Hosea 5:15. And God says, in essence, you know where to find me, right? You know where I'll be. I'm not going to be around, because what you're doing, I'm not part of, and I won't be part of any of your darkness and sin and idolatry. But you can't have both. You can't be like, I'm a Christian, but then you're over here doing all this, right? You can't do both. So God's like, you know where to find me. I'm not going to be where you are. But if you decide to admit, to acknowledge how much wrong that you've done and ask for forgiveness from me, not from your idol gods, I'll be here. You know where to find me. I'll be up here waiting, but no blessings are going to flow from your idols. Just know that. Go ahead and keep trying to get, water from a rock. It's not going to happen, right? All you're going to find on the path that you're on is death and destruction. And he promises that you're going to be punished for this. You're going to be oppressed. You're going to have all of these problems because of what you're doing. But go ahead and keep trying to get the good stuff from the wrong behavior. It's not going to happen. Seek me, though. He's giving them hope. Seek me, and you will find life, right? I'll be here. I'll be waiting. And only a parent, right, who desperately loves their children, or a husband like Hosea that desperately loves his bride, would make such an offer after so much offense, during still so much offense, right? So we can see the character of our God and our Father in the fact of Hosea 5:15 in that last verse where he says, you know where to find me. I'm not going to be coming down to save you unless you repent, unless you come to me. And that is the story of the gospel, guys. And I hope that's where you're all at today. I hope that you've come to Christ and repented and started a new life. And I hope you have a good day and a great Easter. See you later.